Living intentionally is about consciously deciding about how you want to feel, what you want more of, and what you're ready to leave behind. Well, hello and welcome back to the Redefining Midlife podcast. My name's Jo Clark, and as always, I'm just thrilled that you're here with me today. Well, this episode that we're going to be talking about is really just a perfect follow-on from our first episode of the year. I'm going to be sharing some information that I gave a few days ago when I was invited to present an online masterclass for women. And it was on two of my very favorite topics: how to design your next chapter, and then what it means to live with intention. And the women who were there got so much out of the masterclass, so I knew I just needed to share some of that information with you here on the podcast. I know there are many of you who are ready for more ideas on how to design and live life more intentionally. You're ready to go. So this episode is going to be especially helpful for you. And also, if you're feeling that bit of a shift, even if you can't quite put it into words yet, maybe you're asking questions like, well, what now? What's next for me? How do I want this next chapter of my life to feel? And then maybe on the outside, your life could look fine, but internally, something just feels a little bit off or misaligned. And perhaps you've just got that, quiet sense that there's more for you out there, more ease, more joy, more intention. So if that sounds like you, it's often a sign that you're being invited to live more consciously. And it really is great news for a few reasons. Because in this stage of life, you have got so much more experience and wisdom now than you ever have before. Also, many of your roles in life are shifting or perhaps have ended. And you've got that extra time that can free you up to say yes to the things that you want to do. And then you're also at that pointy end of life when you realize that you've had a lot more years behind you than you've got ahead of you. So there is no more wasting time. Now, having good intentions or wishes, it isn't enough. This is the time that we really have to get serious and get things happening. And I hear all the time in the conversations that I have myself and in the mentoring work that I do. Women say things like, I want this year to be different, or I want to feel better. I want more energy. I want more time for myself. I want to do the things that I want to do. But life continues exactly as it always has, and it's not because they don't care or because they're not capable. It's because they're living on what we can call autopilot. Most people are living in the past, in old roles, old habits, expectations, and old ways of thinking. And this is where that Groundhog Day life creeps in. You wake up, do what needs to be done, get through the day, and then repeat it again tomorrow and the next day and the next week, and so on and so on. Maybe you think about what you'd like to happen, what you would like to do or feel, but if you only think about your intention and not take any action, then as that old saying goes, nothing changes if nothing changes. We need to remind ourselves that we all have an opportunity to create a life by our design through the choices that we make. And here's some more good news. We get an opportunity to do that every single day. We get a chance to make hundreds of choices, big choices, small choices, conscious choices, unconscious choices. This means we can reshape and redesign our lives through our thoughts, our behaviors, and our actions throughout the day, every single day. And in a nutshell, a few key facts of what we know from neuroscience and neuropsychology is that most people don't consciously choose their days. They just simply repeat them. Old thoughts lead to familiar habits and routines. And these connections or these neural pathways in our brain means that we do many things on autopilot, because it takes less energy for our brain to have these shortcuts. And these familiar habits also lead to familiar results and outcomes. And also, our brains love safety and familiarity. That's why change can feel so hard. But unless something interrupts that cycle, you're just going to live that same day over and over again. It's like running your computer on an old software program. And as I said to the ladies in the recent masterclass, When you live without intention, life happens to you. But when you live with intention, you begin to shape your life from the inside out. And there are three big things to keep in mind. Number one, simply wanting, wishing, or thinking about change is not the same as creating change. Number two, intention without action keeps your life the same. And number three, having that awareness plus action is what breaks our old patterns. And just so you know, living with intention doesn't mean that we're over-controlling every outcome or having our whole life rigidly mapped out. It simply means just pausing long enough to ask, is this aligned with how I want to live now? And if it's not, we just need to make new choices and do something different. I often say this to my clients. We design our clothes, we design our houses, we design our holidays, we design our careers. But we rarely sit down and consciously design our lives. And living intentionally is about consciously deciding about how you want to feel, what you want more of, and what you're ready to leave behind, and then doing something about it. It's changing that old programming in your brain. And you have far more agency than you've been led to believe. And one of the biggest mistakes that I see women make is having all of their attention on a select few areas of life. I know this through my work in mentoring and coaching women, through the workshops that I run. But I also know this intimately because it's something that I did for decades. And if I'm not careful, I can repeat that pattern again today. Just think about it. In our 20s, 30s, 40s, because at this stage of life, we were in, family, work, household responsibilities, they got the lion's share of our time and our energy. While our health, our joy, creativity, rest and fun, they just sat on the back burner. And over those years, so many habits, routines, rituals, or ways of thinking, they became deeply ingrained. They were our old program. And as I said before, every single day we make hundreds of choices. So it means that we've got the chance to reshape and redesign our lives through our thoughts, behaviors, and actions. We just need to remember that. So I want you to do a gentle check-in as you're listening. And don't have any judgment, just notice. How are things really going on in the other areas of your life? Your health and energy, your relationships, your sense of purpose, your hobbies, what you do for fun, your finances. Which areas have you been tending to and which areas have you been neglecting? Could you become a little bit more intentional by shining a light on some or all of these areas? I always love to share practical ideas, and the women who are at the masterclass, they just love the fact that they could find one or a couple of these ideas that resonated with them in their lives. And like I often say in these solo episodes, just pause, get yourself a pen and paper so you can jot down the ideas that resonate with you and take them up, use them. So here are some very simple, very doable tools that you can use to become more intentional and begin living the life that you want. This is you designing your life with intention. First tool is choosing a word of the year. Now that focus word gives you a lot of a filter or a lens, and it's a simple way just to come back to what matters. And like I said at the start of the episode, head back to episode 167 for lots of ideas on how this simple idea can really create a very intentional year for you. It's a great one. Now, the second tool is adding just one small daily habit known as a micro habit. I'll be doing an episode deep diving into micro habits in the very near future. But put simply, micro habits are so easy to add to your day. They take a fraction of time, usually cost nothing, but they can have a profound benefit for your physical and mental health. Now, they can be as simple as catching some morning sunlight when you have a cuppa first thing in the morning, taking 3 deep breaths before reacting, drinking more water throughout the day, adding a short 5 or 10 minute walk, reading before bed rather than scrolling on your phone, going to bed 10 minutes earlier. Now, these simple steps repeated over time create real change. The third tool is a weekly intentional check-in. You could choose to journal one or some or all of these questions at the end of every week. Ask yourself, what supported me this week? What drained me? Did my choices align with how I want to feel? What do I want to do differently next week? Now, over time, you might see a pattern emerge, and this is powerful information for you to make different and more intentional choices. The fourth tool is to create some space before you commit to anything. For 1 month, don't say yes immediately. Pause, check in and ask yourself, does this align with my intention or word? Do I have the energy for this right now? And then choose, because living with intention often means choosing less and not more. The fifth tool is on a similar theme to this one, or that one. You could create a not doing list. It's about choosing what you're no longer available for. Ask yourself, what's one thing that I'm ready to stop doing? And just keep on adding to that list when you're ready. And then make some intentional choices to stop whatever you can, whenever you can. Editing is a part of designing an intentional life. Now, the sixth tool is all about becoming more aware of our energy levels. Energy is information, but because we're so usually busy with a long to-do list, we as women often ignore energy cues that our body continually gives us, and we just push on through. So on a piece of paper, make 2 columns and write the headings. Gives me energy, drains my energy. And then think of the things that come to mind. Just keep on adding to that list as you notice your energy levels over a few days. Then make one small adjustment for the coming month. Now, we know that our energy tells us so much. We just need to listen and to make some different choices whenever we can. Now, I've given you a few tools. So once you've chosen one of those tools, I really recommend you tell someone what you intend doing. Research clearly shows that change sticks better when it's shared, and adding that layer of accountability will just greatly increase your chances of success. And as James Clear wrote in his book, Atomic Habits, which is a great book if you haven't got it, he said, knowing someone else is watching you is a powerful motivator. And I can absolutely attest this to both my own personal experience and from working with my clients. So if you don't want to tell anybody, then perhaps you could use a monthly calendar, a simple journal note, a sticky note somewhere, just to remind you to record what you're doing. Now, as we come to the end of this episode, I'd love you just to pause for a moment if you can. Take a breath and ask yourself, what is one area of my life that I want to design differently? And what is one small intentional action that I could take this week? What's one thing that I'm ready to leave behind? An old habit, expectation, or an old story? I want to leave you with this reminder. Every single day, you get a chance to live with a little bit more intention, to choose a different thought, to take a different action, to respond differently than you might have in the past. You don't have to wait for a new year, a birthday, or a big life event to begin. You can start anytime, any day. And I also want to say this gently and honestly. If you leave it too long, before you know it, another year is going to be behind us, and then nothing much will have changed. So ask yourself, how much time do you think you've got? Midlife really is a powerful time to choose more consciously, not perfectly, just intentionally. And this next chapter of yours, it doesn't happen by accident. It happens by choice. And those choices are yours to make. Now, if you think another midlife woman would really resonate with this episode, I'd love you to send it to her. We need to lift each other up and support each other whenever we can. So I'm sending you lots of love, and I'll see you next week with another episode of Redefining Midlife podcast. Okay, see you then. Bye. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please rate, follow, and share it with another incredible midlife woman. And join me next week as we keep creating an amazing second half of life.